of your life. Football? Are you okay with that?
Yeah, that's not a problem. I'm good with that.
I was listening when you said you had listened to all of Goody. I was shocked when you when you said 45 minutes and nothing.
Yeah, that's essentially what I took from it.
Did you ever have such a speech in your playing days, and you don't have to mention who, where you had a certain amount of minutes of nothing, or maybe there were certain speeches that you just had to put up with from coaches, head coach, or I don't know who, at some point in your career?
I think there's always times, at least in mine, that a coach or a head coach or a coordinator or someone may go off on a little tangent, and you're kind of like, well, I don't know what that has to do with anything, but that's okay. But then there's also messaging within it that retains to you or your position or your group or whatever it may be that you take from it. But yesterday's press conference, I mean, I don't. There just wasn't anything relevant that got pulled out of that. Again, I will get to ask Jason because he was there and he was asking questions. But for the most part, Goody did a good job skirting around everything. I mean, he was a master with his words and just didn't really. He said a lot, but didn't say anything. Right? I mean, and obviously that's a skill. I get it, but you didn't learn much about plans. You obviously you heard the goal's always a championship. I understand that, but besides that, what did we learn? What did we learn? I didn't learn much. I mean, they asked.
I can tell you what I learned, and I've said this. You got a 3-year extension, or I think it's 3 years. I don't know that the years have come out yet. Have you heard how many years? I just assume it's 3.
No, I'm assuming 3.
And I got any job. I've had any job in my life. They give me a 3-year paid extension. You know what I think? I think my boss likes me. Everything I'm doing is fine. And, as was brought to my attention by Jason, I got the 3-year extension after a year that didn't finish very well. So they must like me so much that even though it didn't finish well last year, they're so positive about the future that didn't bother them. Right? I mean, now, if I'm analyzing that incorrectly, or if you, in any position you've had in your life, got a 3-year extension after, and again, adding the finish to the year when you got the extension, that my analysis of both he and LaFleur, how they probably should think.
Yeah, I mean, obviously from the player side, if you have a bad finish or a bad performing year, you don't get good extensions. So from our side of the table, we don't get that luxury, unfortunately. Like if we underperform or something, we say, like, perfect example is you have a bad playoff game, right, as a player, and that's your last game of the year, and you play like you know what. That's the last piece of tape that everyone has, and they use that against you in negotiations, and chances are your extension isn't too good. We'll just put it that way. It's different, obviously, with the GMs and the coaches, but I would guess that, I mean, for the most part, I think Goody, again, this is how I look at it. I think he's done a good job with the roster. I think that there's a lot of really talented football players on the roster. I think he's done a good job in drafting in the later rounds to build that roster with good young talent. So to think that Ed Policy wants to continue on with that trend, I totally get it. I totally understand. But the one thing that again, this is what I've said about Goody, and he kind of talked about it a little bit, but he kind of alluded it as well in this presser. And I love it that Jason asked it, or at least I think it was Jason that asked it, about getting, because he mentioned about having players that know how to close these games out in playoff times, right? And Jason asked him, well, do you think or something to this rendition, don't quote me, but it was something like this. Do you think if you had a few more veteran players, that would help you? And he quickly said no. So to me, that is my one criticism of Goody, of this roster building, is it's a young team that doesn't have the experience in these types of games to close these things out.
Well, I want to add, he's had the youngest team 3 years in a row. Now, to me, nobody's done research on any teams in the past that have been youngest 3 years in a row. I don't think you want to be youngest 3 years in a row, because the young guys the first year should be getting older, and if they're good, then don't you have to be getting a little older?
Well, that's kind of what he alluded to. He said, he goes, the young guys, and they get older and they're young in age, but not in playing experience. Well, that would be like me in my third year looking at Sitton or one of those guys and going, yeah, I got just as much experience as you. I've played a couple of years. I got just as much experience as you. Our age difference doesn't matter here. It doesn't matter. No, that's not true. That's not true. I mean, just because they've played a lot of football in years 1 to 3 doesn't mean in these moments, like we saw up 21-3 against Chicago, they have, I guess, they know how to rally the troops to close that thing out. And that was the case. And it happened in the first or the second Bears game, and then in the playoffs. And then obviously, too, the Ravens game was another example of that, right? Like the Ravens game was another example of that. Like, didn't look interested in playing. Like, and that comes from having guys that understand, all right, like we lost to Chicago. We can still get this thing where we wanted to go if we beat, if we take care of business against Baltimore and things like that, we can put this thing in the right direction and still win this division. Well, wasn't there. And then you're missing, obviously, good veteran leaders and key guys like Kraft, and you're missing Parsons and guys like that, and Wyatt, and the team's young. So to me, the question that Jason asked was a great one, and Goody shut it down right away and said, no, that's not the case. So that is my one takeaway and criticism. If I criticize Goody on kind of the roster building, is that we've gone so young that you answer the questions of why can't we close out games? Well, there's one thing that continues to happen year after year, and it's being the youngest roster. So there's got to be something to that's part of the equation. It has to be part of the equation. Because I know for a fact that you got to have a blend of older players and younger players. Obviously, that's the way the NFL works. But if you're just always the youngest, and the results continue to happen the same way, I mean,
yeah. So I don't know if this is number one. I have my Dr. Football Bryan Bulaga list for next season. Don't want to be the youngest team.
No.
You'll even take second youngest team.
Yes, I would. I'd take second. That's improvement.
And I will have somebody look that up, and you can probably do it with, I say the Institute. Now you just have AI. But, as other teams that have been the youngest team 3 years in a row, and how have they done? Because everybody's looking at the number of wins the Packers have over the X number of years, and they're like fourth best since maybe 2011. They're the other teams have been like in multiple Super Bowls, and the Packers have been in none. So it's fair to, in this offseason, try to figure out what that is. What's preventing that, because you're not asking that the team be any better than any other team. You just don't want to be the odd one.
Because like I've always said, there's something about adding guys that have been there, done that, been in situations and succeeded in those situations. And you don't, besides that playoff game in Jordan Love's first year, right, that they beat Dallas. And let's just call it what it is. It was a bad Dallas team. It was a bad Dallas team. Right?
But they still whooped them. You got to give them the credit for whooping them.
I am.
Okay. But yes, they whooped a bad Dallas team, correct.
Yes. And then they hit adversity in the second game against San Francisco of playing great in that game, hit some adversity, couldn't really get over that hump. But you know what? We wrote it off, and I did too, because, Jordan Love's first year, it's a really young team. They overperformed. It's going to be, even next year's going to be even better. Well, go on the road as the 7th seed against Philly and get, absolutely just manhandled. Again, looked outmatched from the start. And then they'll go, all right, well, now they're going to get a little bit older. These young guys now get another year of experience, get the 7th seed again, get up 21-3 on our division rival, and find a way to not, when adversity hits in that second half, the first 2 drives, you stall out, you can't figure anything out, Chicago scoring, you face a little heat, and the same thing happens. So, I just look at it as you do have great young talent on the team. That's not saying that you can't add guys that are a little bit battle-worn and tested, that understand then what comes with that when you get to this stage in the season, and that's the postseason. There has to be guys that understand there's another level, and it's gonna happen. You're gonna hit adversity,
like Charles Woodson, maybe.
Yeah, a guy like that, a kind of a guy like that. Not saying it needs to be a Hall of Famer. Not saying it needs to be one of the best players ever played in the NFL. But someone that has been through kind of the ups and downs of the end of a season, have made the playoffs, and they understand what it takes then to continue to advance on and play good football when your back's up against the wall. And it just seems like that was, and you could say all you want about the coaches. Oh, well, Matt, I always say this, and I've always said it, and I've said it to you, I've said it to everyone that I go, Matt isn't out there playing. Right? Like, Matt can call the plays. He can give the rah-rah speech. He can chew someone out. That's great. But at the end of the day, the guys have to go out there and do it. Like, they have to go out there and do it and get it done. And it's either you're able to or you're not, or you're not confident in the situation when things do start to go a little bad for you. Like, believe me, doubt creeps into your head when you're on the road in the playoffs.
But, right. So all of us on the outside are saying, Brian, you're right. So we have 2 choices. Either it's the players aren't that good, and that's on Goody, or the players are good, but they tend to be a representative of a head coach where the players change, but this problem seems to exist. So, you're the president of the Green Bay Packers. Who gets more of the blame for that, the GM or the head coach?
Well, the coach is always going to get the blame for it.
All right.
The coach is always going to get the blame for it, and that's the way it works. I mean, that's just always the way. Yeah,
but you don't have to say the way it's done. You can say based on what you see, which isn't. You're right. The leagues, the presidents, and everything are always going to be more apt to blame the coach rather than the GM. Yeah, but you know what the reality is, and whether you think those players are good and they should be performing as a group better, or they're just not that good.
Well, I think that they have good play. I think that there are good players. That's the thing. But you look at certain, and again, I said it earlier, you lose Tucker Kraft, you lose Micah Parsons, you lose Wyatt. Those are massive pieces, right? But when you look around the rest to draw experience from and draw energy from and get guys to refocus in and redial in, who's doing that? Like, who's the guy that's doing that? Right? And there's normally always a couple guys on each side of the ball that are always able to do that. And normally that's something for us, it was always TJ Lang would always do it. And obviously you have Aaron, was as calm under pressure as, I mean, he always felt and looked the same and acted the same no matter what. And on the defensive side of the ball, you mentioned one. You mentioned Charles. Then you mentioned guys like Tremont Williams or Nick Collins or whatever, as positive and whatever it may be. Clay was always a guy that you could count on to go out there and give 110% effort, fly around 1,000,000 miles an hour, and he's probably going to make a play for you to try to spark something. Like, that was always a thing. Or you had guys that were very vocal, like Mike Daniels or something like there were always guys, right? And then you just ask the question, who was that at the,
Yeah, no, you got to
team?
ask Jason, who are those guys on this team? That's what, will you ask that first just for me? Because I think that's, I wish I could replay that time. Yeah, all right. Bryan Bulaga just gave you the list of those guys from 2010. Who are those guys now with Jason Wilde? Next.
More of the Homer Hour coming up next on ESPN Wisconsin and the ESPN Wisconsin app.
A crash on southbound 41, technically on the Watertown Plank Road on-ramp to southbound, has that ramp closed. So keep that in mind if you're heading through that area. The other accident we had in the Gerke's Corners area on Highway 18 has been cleared out of the way. Still seeing a few delays on 94 through that area past Barker Road. And more delays then from 84th Street all the way to 68th, and then coming out of the Stadium interchange to 27th. Westbound's backed out from 27th Street all the way past Mitchell Boulevard. Traffic is brought to you by Glenroy, now hiring. As the packaging industry rapidly grows, so does Glenroy. Apply today at glenroy.com/careers. That's GLENROY.com/careers. And checking the TMJ4 Storm Team forecast tonight, chance of snow or a wintry mix, a low of 25. Tomorrow, a slight chance for snow showers, becoming partly cloudy, breezy with falling temperatures, a high of 35. From the WTMJ Traffic Center, I'm Debbie Lazaga on 94.5 ESPN.
Half of American parents cannot afford diapers. This is WTMJ's Kristen Bry. This spring, WTMJ and the Milwaukee Diaper Mission are teaming up to change that. Join me for WTMJ Cares, Bowling for Babies, where we will raise funds for Milwaukee Diaper Mission. Join us March 7th at Village Bowl in Menominee Falls, where you can bowl with your favorite WTMJ hosts. Text BABY to the WTMJ Talk and Text line 855-616-1620 to get more information on how you can be part of our latest WTMJ Cares event.
There's never been a better time to experience Pella in person and get all your questions answered. Join us at the Neary Spring Home Improvement Show, February 13th through the 15th at Wisconsin State Fair Park. Book your in-home consultation at the show and receive a free DesignWorks rendering. Rest easy with Pella's 10-year limited warranty and get 0% interest for up to 48 months. Set your free in-home consultation at PellaWI.com.
St. Anne's Center for Intergenerational Care switched from a previous vendor to business technology from James Imaging Systems. Why? CFO Sally Parente.
The service, the value, and the ease with which we can just keep using their service and not having any big headaches. It's not just all about the money. We're getting value here as well.
Robert Prang, CIO at Tri-City National Bank, likes the fact that James Imaging is local.
So being able to work with a local company like James that has that flexibility with their staff and being able to deliver for us has given us the ability to make the right decisions for our organization.
And Junior Achievement of Wisconsin VP of Enterprise Services, Lori Salzman, had this advice for others.
If anybody is looking for a good partner that is there to help find solutions, call James Imaging.
James Imaging Systems, your local business technology partner. Visit jamesimaging.com.
My husband's an animal in bed.
Well, you know.
Not in the fun way. Think warthog. With a chainsaw.
Snoring and sleep apnea affect over 90 million people, and 1 out of 4 couples sleep in separate rooms. Advent can help. We've been Milwaukee's one-stop solution for nasal congestion, snoring, and sleep apnea for over 20 years. Unlike many other practices, we focus exclusively on these conditions, so you get comprehensive care under one roof. Advent's unique approach can help you breathe and sleep better, and many avoid a CPAP. Plus, most insurance is accepted for our effective 20-minute in-office treatments.
Hey, the only animal you want in your bed is your dog.
Advent. Sleep better. Sleep together. Learn how you can improve your life at adventknows.com.
This is the Homer Hour on ESPN Wisconsin and the ESPN Wisconsin app. It's time for Jason Wilde on the Homer Hour on 94.5 ESPN.
Yes, the three-time Wisconsin Sports Writer of the Year, Jason Wilde, with the Doctor of Football, Bryan Bulaga. Doc, take it away.
Jason, good evening. How are you?
Better now that I get to talk to you two.
Oh, how flattering. So I listened to the whole presser yesterday, but I'm not I don't have.
I'm sorry.
I don't have the trained ear like you do to maybe pick up subtleties, but I did hear you ask questions, and Homer and I have been talking about this. You asked about veteran players being on the roster because Goody mentioned something about, having the right guys to close these games out. And then you asked something, I think, to the nature of having veteran players. And he was very quick to dismiss that and say no. So I guess my question is, when you lose guys like Kraft, like Micah, like Zach Tom, right, you remove those core nucleus guys. I would imagine those are the energy guys and kind of the leadership group of that team. Who do they have left then when they're in spots like that against Chicago and things aren't going well in the second half to help right the ship? If it's not going to be veteran players, then who on that roster then does it?
Yeah, great question. Spoken like a guy who played in the league for over a decade and knows his stuff. So it was actually two separate questions. Because I asked him first about, I totally get your roster building mentality. In fact, fact of the matter is I agree with it. But would it help to have a few more veteran players to help you through those tough times? Because, again, I keep going back to the conversation I had with Evan Williams in the locker room in Chicago, the same locker room where you guys celebrated winning the NFC championship. And if Obama's not going to come see us, we'll go see him. And in that room, I asked Evan, look, man, like you guys didn't handle the success of being up 21-3, and you didn't handle the adversity of things getting away from you in the fourth quarter. Are you guys a little bit immature as a football team? And I said, please tell me if I'm completely off base. I don't want you to just go along with my premise. And he said, no, you hit it right on the nail, which I think he meant you hit the nail on the head. And then he gave this great answer about how we don't stay even-keeled enough. We get too high. We ride the waves. And that's what veteran players help you avoid, right? Because they've been there. They've done it. And so so I asked that question, and I made the mistake of saying, and I'm not saying, Goody, you need, old guys that are washed. I'm saying, maybe a guy who's had his 30th birthday. Because, and then this was the mistake I made. I said, because there seems to be a pretty clear line of demarcation on the roster about 30-year-old players. And then he seized on that and said, there's no line of demarcation. Really? The only two people on your team who had celebrated their 30th birthdays were the kicker and the long snapper. So if that's not a line of demarcation, what is it? And by the way, Elton Jenkins turned 30 the day after Christmas, and he ain't coming back, right? So It is a line of demarcation, whether you want to call it that or not, kind of like when you ask them about RAS score. Well, we don't really go by that. No, but you go by your own version of it. So let's not split hairs, right? So my point, and so then it was actually Bill Huber that followed up. It was a great follow-up by him, and he pointed to me as he said it. He said, going back to Jason's question, do you think having some more veteran players, older players, would help with closing games? Because that was like the one thing that he basically said wasn't good, right? Everything else is hunky-dory except we can't close out games. And he just said, no, I don't. And that was the end of his answer, the bill. So, look, I like to make jokes about this. You know, you would still be starting at right tackle for me. Jordy would still be playing wide receiver. Charles Woodson, who's like coming up on his 50th birthday, he'd be still at safety. I joke about that. I'm not talking about getting the 2010 team back together. But I really do believe that guys who have been there not only know how to handle it themselves, but know how to handle other guys and help other guys handle it when things get difficult. And it's the one flaw, in my opinion, with their roster building technique. And what I think is interesting is that his response was essentially, well, you know, we want our guys to grow into that, you know, organically. Okay, but now you're going to let a vast majority of your 2022 draft class walk in free agency, most likely. So if those are the guys that are then supposed to have been there, done that, and helped the younger guys, if you don't keep most of them, how the hell are they helping you? Right?
Yep. Yes. Yeah, that's exactly right. That's the truth. And I guess that's what I was telling Homer. That's my biggest, if I have one criticism of Goody, just as how he builds the roster, it's that. I'm not, like I said, I'm not asking you to fill the team with 35-year-olds, but I think that there's something to be said about having guys that have that experience. I mean, that have been there, done that, and have kind of felt the ups and downs of playoff games and late season games and kind of know how to, like you said, stay even keel. Don't really get too highs with the highs or too lows with the lows. Just stay steady. And to me, that's what I see when I watch them.
Right. And you got that experience as the youngest player to ever start a Super Bowl. But then think about how that helped you in 14 and 16 and 19, right? And think about those teams, right? Like Corey Linsley had been there. Devontae Adams had been there. Who on this team has been in anything beyond that NFC divisional game that they melted down in the final, you know, the missed kick by Anders Carlson and then the picks by Jordan Love in 2023? Who has been there, done that, anything beyond that? No one. McKinney came over from a team that hadn't had any success. Josh Jacobs had played, I believe, in one playoff game. Maybe Aaron Banks had a little bit more with the 49ers. But that's it. Like, that's the list. They brought in Nate Hobbs. He played for the Raiders. What success did the Raiders have? So, like, none of these guys have been there. Like, again, I'm not, and I love you like a brother, but I'm not saying you at 34 am what I'm wanting, but you at 29, 30, I still want you, because when Sean Ryan or when Jordan Morgan or when Anthony Belton is starting to pucker up a little bit because of the pressure, I've got you to say, hey, we're good. All right, let's go. Next play, you're all right. Let's focus in. And it means more coming from you because you played in a Super Bowl. You've played in a ton of playoff games. Right now, they have a roster full of guys, especially when they let these 2022 guys leave. But even them, because their rookie years, they didn't play in a playoff game. They missed the playoffs with Rodgers the last year. They got a bunch of dudes that they won that playoff game in Dallas, which felt really easy, right? So they get done with that game. They're like, hey, this is nothing. We went on the road and whooped these guys. Then they have a ton of success in the 49ers game until they don't, and they pee down their leg and lose that game. And then what's happened since, right? They lost to the Eagles, and then turned the ball over 4 times, and they lost to the Bears where the offense got off to a great start, then couldn't get out of their own way, and the defense gave up 25 fourth-quarter points. And if they had one older guy, even one, because they don't have Parsons, and I still maintain losing Homer's guy, Edgerrin Cooper, in the middle of his best game of the year is why they lost. Because not having Parsons and then not having Cooper robbed them of their 2 biggest playmakers that could have helped stem the tide defensively. But, like, if I have a veteran guy, like a true veteran guy who's played in a playoff game that came down to this, who can get me through those moments where I'm losing my crap because, oh, my God, we're going to blow this lead, that's what I needed there, in addition to some guys to make some plays.
All right, I want to give you the question that Doc was going to ask, but I'm going to do it. So, like he mentioned, and Brian, you mentioned all the guys on 2010 and Charles Woodson and the others, and basically I said, let's ask Jason, who are those guys on this team? Doesn't mean there are as many, but in the ranking of what you talked about, who's at the top of the list on this team, or the top three, right? Is the question right, Brian?
Yeah, it's guys that they're always going to count on and lean on, that are going to be the steady performers, even keel, no matter what, in any situation. And they can kind of rally the group, essentially, is what it is. Like, that to me is the question.
Who are the top three? McKinney?
Yeah, I mean, again, one of their most experienced players, obviously Elton, who played in playoff games, broke his leg, so he's not available. So he would have been on the list had he played the whole season. I would have preferred him at left guard. That's another story for another day. But, like, I love Keyshawn Nixon. He's one of my favorite guys. We have an awesome relationship. I did a story on his mom when she was battling breast cancer, and I did a really good job with it, and he and I are pals from a work-related perspective. But you know what I would say about Keyshawn Nixon? He's a knucklehead, right? Like, he doesn't keep an even keel in games, right? He gets riled up, right? Yep. And again, that's his game, and I want that Keyshawn Nixon on my team. I really do, and not just because I like him as a dude. He's a dog. He's got a lot of great qualities, but being hey, let's keep everyone even-keeled and calm in critical situations, that ain't his part. That ain't his role. And so you start talking about McKinney, you start talking about Josh Jacobs, and both those guys have minimal playoff experience because they came from crappy teams. They're great players. They were great signings, but they weren't on great teams, so they don't have a lot of that experience. Christian Watson is a great even-keel guy, but he's played in fewer playoff games because they didn't make it as his rookie year. He played in both, I think, in 2023. He missed the 2024 game because he tore his ACL the week before against the Bears, so he doesn't have a lot of that experience. Zach Tom has a personality for that, but also, by the way, you didn't have him in the playoff game either, right? So all the guys that I would even vote for weren't even available. And then you can say, oh, well, Isaiah McDuffie. Isaiah McDuffie is a glue guy that you should have on your team. But you need those guys that are also the calming influences to be studs, right? And Quay Walker doesn't have that. And let's be honest about Jordan. Jordan made a big leap this season, I think. I feel really good about where he's trending. It is still not his comfort zone to be that guy.
Jason, I'm going to have to go ahead and finish, but I'm going to have to interrupt because we have TVV, Tim Van Vorn, on a special Thursday appearance, so I want to make sure we have enough time for him.
No, I've said my piece.
We will continue this next Thursday, unless you and the doc figure to use it before on all the other shows you're on together.
He and I are I'm just going to call him on Saturday. We'll just do our own thing, just talking to each other.
Sounds good. Thanks, Jason.
All right, guys. Take care. Be good.
Tim Van Vorn, Fox 6 Sports. He's not next, but soon.
The Homer Hour is back after this on ESPN Wisconsin and the ESPN Wisconsin app.
Southbound on 43, a hefty ride for you right now from about Burleigh, make that Keith, all the way down through the Marquette interchange and over the high-rise bridge. But wait, there's more. You get to slow down again at Beecher all the way down to the KK River crossing. On the northbound side, we got backups from Kilbourne all the way up to North Avenue. Westbound 94, heavy ride from 27th Street past Mitchell Boulevard. Eastbound from just past 84th Street to just past 68th. Not quite too to Hawley Road. Southbound on 41 does have some backups, primarily just south of Silver Spring, down past Capitol Drive. And checking the TMJ4 Storm Team forecast tonight, chance for snow or a wintry mix, a low of 25. Tomorrow, slight chance for snow showers, becoming partly cloudy, breezy with falling temperatures, a high of 35. Weather's brought to you by the Pickler, Menominee Falls. Cold outside? Get moving indoors with free Learn to Play Pickleball every Monday and Saturday. Learn more at thepickler.com. From the WTMJ Traffic Center, I'm Debbie Lazaga on 94.5 ESPN.
ESPN Radio Sports Beat with Myron Metcalf.
I don't know where Giannis is going to end up, but as a Milwaukee native, I can tell you that I'm tired of all of the drama. There was a world where Giannis, after leading the Milwaukee Bucks to the NBA championship, could have walked away and everyone in Milwaukee would have praised him. They would have said, you know what? If it's time for you to move on, if you feel like there's another destination for you to continue your career, good for you. There would have been a ceremony, maybe even a parade for Giannis, who was the star who could do no wrong. Now, Milwaukee fans have dealt with the last couple of years of Giannis suggesting that maybe he doesn't want to be in Milwaukee. That's okay, but why drag it out? Now Giannis is going from a guy who has been a hero, a guy that they were going to build a statue of in Milwaukee, and maybe they will one day. But now you have to wonder, how is all this drama, unnecessary drama, going to affect his legacy? In 60 seconds, Kelvin Sampson wants to know how a lack of funding could impact his men's basketball team.
Texting enrolls you in a recurring automated marketing text messages. Consent not required to purchase. Message and data rates may apply.
The team's looking good this season. I think so. Man, I miss playing football. Ever since I turned 40, I just can't find that fire I used to have.
Think it could be lower testosterone?
What do you mean?
I was feeling the same way. After 40, the body has less testosterone, and men lose their edge. That's why I take Nugenix Total T2.
That's the testosterone booster, right?
Yes, but Total T2 is their brand new formula that skyrockets nitric oxide levels in as little as 3 hours. Since I started taking it, I've been lifting like when we played for Coach Carter. My energy is way up, and it even spiced up things between me and the missus.
Are they still giving out complimentary bottles?
Yep, just send a text.
Text AREA to 42424 for your complimentary bottle of Nugenix Total T2, the next generation testosterone booster. Text now and we'll include a bottle of Nugenix Thermo X, our newest, most powerful fat burner ever, absolutely free. Text AREA to 42424. That's AREA to 42424.
These statements have not been evaluated by the FDA. This product is not intended to diagnose, treat, cure, or prevent any disease.
On Wednesday night, Kelvin Sampson said that his athletic department is, quote, very poor. And as a result, he may not be able to put together teams that can compete for national championships in the future. Now, what is Kelvin Sampson talking about? The athletic department at Houston has been able to give out NIL cash to players from football, basketball, and other sports. But Kelvin Sampson is on to something. It's become harder and harder for teams like his men's basketball squad to keep up with the Joneses, if you will, in the rev share era. The price of talent is going up, and the amount of resources have become more constricted as a result of the new rules. So although it may sound like Kelvin Sampson is making an exaggerated claim about the condition of his basketball program, the reality is that going forward, Houston is going to have to find some more money if they want to win a national championship one day under Kelvin Sampson. With the ESPN Radio Sports Beat, I'm Myron Metcalf.
You're listening to the Homer Hour on ESPN Wisconsin and the ESPN Wisconsin app.
Three Pillar Senior Living Communities. Yeah, I'm going to talk 300 acres. Yep, and I'm going to say 300 acres again because that allows them to be good at what they do. Beautiful setting along the Bark River on 300 acres in Dousman, a top-ranked full continuum community, which you can do in 300 acres. Active adult and independent living, assisted living and memory care, skilled nursing and rehab, they can do it all, and incredible wellness programs, and a long list of activities, and a nature-filled campus with 10 miles of walking, 300 acres. So the amazing staff can be that much better because it's always about the staff for a senior living community. So, that's simple. 300 acres. 3pillars.org. With the Doctor of Football, Bryan Bulaga, discussing with Jason Wilde. Here's our Discount Liquor Twitter poll question for you, Bryan, and we're going to do this quick. And do I have to break right away to get room for TVV, or what do we have? All right. Now, what's the Discount Liquor Twitter poll question was based on what Goody said about Keyshawn Nixon.
Yeah, so the Discount Liquor Twitter poll question today at the Homer Hour on Twitter.
Can't wait for the Doc's answer.
Vote. Packers GM Brian Gutekunst said that Keyshawn Nixon had a, quote, very, very good season. Should Nixon be the number one cornerback in 2026, yes or no?
I'm just assuming he is based on what the GM said, but
yeah,
I will defer to you. Should he be?
I think he has to be.
Okay.
I mean, that's the way I look at it.
I got an option for you.
Okay.
Go out and get a free agent. Let's go out and get a number one. Like, we like him, but he's a number two. I'm just throwing that out.
Yeah, I don't know if they have the finances for that.
Okay.
I just don't think they do. I'm not sure it's going to be there to do that. So to me, I think he will be the number one corner next year. And listen, I think he had great moments during the season. And then there were some that were a little bit not as good. And Jason mentioned it. He loves the way he plays with that fire and that energy, which I really like too. But we got to find ways to just reel that in from time to time for the personal foul stuff.
You can't make so many mistakes. Come on.
Right? Yeah, that's the one thing. I love that he's aggressive. He plays nasty. He's got a little something extra in him that he lets guys know. Right? I can appreciate all that. It's just when it comes to the extracurricular after the play, you just can't do that because that those are drive starters for offense and momentum killers for you as a defense and a team. That would be the one thing that got to clean that part of your game up.
Was there anybody on your team that they were good, they were important, but every so often you wanted to say, no, you can't make those mistakes. We can't.
No, who? I mean, I don't recall if he got that many personal fouls for those things, but who was always you had to tell hey man, I love that you're, but you got to the play's over. You got to. It was Mike Daniels. Oh. Mike Daniels was just an absolute, and I played with him at Iowa, so I knew him really well. I knew everything about. I knew Mike D. And I knew how he was.
He was that even after he got done playing. Yes, Mike Daniels. We got time to discuss that in the future. I'm writing that one down for future discussion. We'll break. TVV Special Thursday next.
The Homer Hour is back after this on ESPN Wisconsin and the ESPN Wisconsin app. With Wilde and Tausch, you won't miss a play.
I'm going to tell you this, there will be more scrutiny, so I think he better get off to a fast start.
Presented by Pella Windows and Doors of Wisconsin.
Because I can already picture whomever we play right out of the gates. I got a hunch the old Fire Gannon hashtags are going to be warmed up and ready to go if things don't start well. He is not going to have a ton of built-in grace at that position.
Weekdays from 9 to noon on 94.5 ESPN, ESPN Milwaukee's YouTube channel, and the ESPN Wisconsin app.
Homer here from ESPN Milwaukee. What makes living at Three Pillars so special? Let's hear from my friend Dave.
The campus is beautiful. For me, nature is my church, and I love being outside. We live by the Bark River, and it's calming. It just calms my soul. I just love it. A lot of the people, I'm talking about 100-year-old people, 90 years old, say they credit Three Pillars with living longer.
Brewers mini ticket plans for the 2026 season are available now with 6-game, 12-game, and build-your-own plan options. You can pick or build the best plan for your schedule, whether you're gearing up for tailgates under the sun, the thrill of the home runs, or the eruptions of walk-off wins. Brewers mini plans have you covered for the 2026 season with specially discounted ticket rates and more exclusive perks in each plan. Check out all the mini plan options available for 2026 now at brewers.com/ticket plans.
Without an Advent clinic nearby, people suffering needlessly from chronic nasal congestion and sinus infections would be stuck with either Band-Aid or Sledgehammer solutions. Band-Aids are pills or nasal sprays, and they're not true solutions. Surgery is a sledgehammer, and that's what we're trying to avoid. Because most people don't need surgery for nose and sinus issues, nor do they want a 14-day recovery. Our unique Advent approach can, in 20 minutes in our office, open your blocked nose for good, with only 1 day recovery. I'm Advent founder Dr. Kandula. Outside of Advent's four walls, invasive surgery is what they'll recommend. But here you will find effective and convenient in-office solutions to help you stop the need for Band-Aids and avoid the sledgehammer.
Go to adventknows.com to schedule your appointment, because Advent knows when you breathe well, you live better. Most insurance accepted.
At Associated Bank, we know running a business is tough enough, so our business is making your business banking easy. That's why we make sure it speaks your language. Business and consumer-linked accounts? How about all your banking all in one place with one login account? $50 overdraft grace zone? Think of it as a I never said I was a CFO grace zone. And maintenance fee-free account? Well, free is always good. At Associated Bank, we get you. That's why we've got you. Learn more at associatedbank.com/YouGotThis. Member FDIC.
Ben Brust here for the Princeton Club. If you're looking for your better tomorrow, you know where to go. It's the Princeton Club. If you're looking to grow, it's also the Princeton Club, because they will cheer for you in all areas of your life. The best way to do that is to start a foundation of having a healthy body, and your growth will start from there. With the cleanest health clubs in Wisconsin, they provide everything for you to reach your goals. Start your better tomorrow today and grow in all areas of your life at the Princeton Club. Join for a better tomorrow.
Life's better with American Family Insurance, because we know you love working weekends, if it means working on your dream home, both inside and out. And we're here to help protect those dreams so you can enjoy peace of mind. Save up to 40% when you bundle home and auto. American Family Insurance. Get a quote and find an agent at amfam.com.
Products, pricing, and availability vary based on where you purchase insurance and by state. Some exclusions apply. American Family Mutual Insurance Company, SI, and its operating companies, 6000 American Parkway, Madison, Wisconsin.
Welcome back to the Homer Hour on ESPN Wisconsin and the ESPN Wisconsin app. The three most important letters in sports. Even better than those.
TVV.
It's Fox 6 Sports Director Tim Van Voren on the Homer Hour on 94.5 ESPN. Tim Van Voren is brought to you by The Ticket King, your local and most trusted source for Green Bay football tickets. Visit theticketking.com or call 414-273-6007.
Three-time Wisconsin Sportscaster of the Year, Tim Van Voren, Fox 6 Sports, with the Dr. of Football, Bryan Bulaga. All right, TVV, you got a question for Bryan, or then after that I'll ask Bryan if he has a question for you.
Wow, I like the approach. I'm honored to be on with Bryan anyway. So getting to pose a question, I love it, Bryan. First of all, you're really good. You're really good on there with Homer. My question would be, defending quarterbacks. Guys get hit after the play. What's the line as how far his teammates should go to, quote unquote, defend him?
Ooh, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I know for us and Aaron, it was a very short. I mean, guys had very, very small room to make bad or dirty hits or small errors. Like, if it was a clean hit, it's a clean hit. Hey, man, like, we should have blocked better. That's on us. But it was very, very marginal what we all thought was a clean hit, too, as well. I guess we looked at it that way as well. But it didn't take much for one of us to react to a hit on Aaron. Just put it that way. It didn't take much.
I got to interrupt. Did he ever say anything to any of you like, hey, could you have my back?
He never had to do that. That is just never a quarterback. That was the same way in college. I felt that way. Same way in high school. I felt that way because I was blocking for a Wisconsin Badger, Johnny Budmeyer, who's now at Iowa, obviously, but he was my quarterback as a young kid in high school. So like I always felt that way, that your quarterback gets hit, and especially hit in a way that is not clean. There has to be a line that can't be crossed, and then you need to let the guy that did it and probably the rest of them know and send a message. That's normally the way I looked at it, and I could promise you that's the way Bakhtiari and Sitton and Lang and that's how they all looked at it too. And some of the most biggest defenders of that were like Tay and Jordy. And like Jermichael Finley was another one. Like absolute went ballistic if they thought something was dirty on the quarterback. So it shouldn't happen, and if it does happen, it needs to be addressed very quickly by the guys up front to start, and then normally the other guys, like I said, Jordy and Tay, and those guys were very quick to react as well.
Love it.
TVV, You can answer our Discount Ligo Twitter poll question. Goody said that Keyshawn Nixon had a very, very good season. Should he be the number one quarterback? 96% say no. Take it away, TVV, and then Brian can add. I know we didn't get his vote yet, I don't think.
Well, it's an age-old truth. If he's not, somebody else has to be. So let's look at it that way. I think he's the top cornerback on the Packers roster. So if you don't want him to be the number one cornerback, you have to do something to bring in somebody else to that roster. I would not say he had a very, very good year. He made some big plays. He had some shining moments. He started every game, and I think there's something to be said for credit there. I think that Keyshawn Nixon is an attitude guy. I will say that when he jumped on the pile in the playoff game over the top and you just knew it was a 15-yard penalty, I was behind the Packer front office people in the press box, and they were not pleased. So I think that's all part of the package with Keyshawn Nixon. But you have to have somebody else to play number one if you don't want him to play number one.
Doc, you can follow, and then any question you have for TVV. He's a much more reasonable, doesn't need a governor like me as far as a member of the media.
No, I mean, he essentially echoed what I was saying. Like at this point, he is the number one corner on the roster, and if you're going to go buy a corner, those are very expensive. Number one corners are very expensive. And if you invest again more into the defense as you've already invested with that giant contract listen, Micah deserves every penny. That's how good he is. But I'm just saying, that's a massive deal. You're going to be putting a lot of money on that side of the ball, right? And you have receivers that are coming up, and you have offensive line holes right now. So, like, it's just one of those things of balancing and building a roster of where you're going to divert the money to. And that's an issue. I get the cap goes up $20 million, but at the same time, those guys normally cost over $20 million a year. They're really good ones. So it's, as of right now, he is the number one corner on the roster. I mean, that's just the way it is. I mean, I was going to ask Tim, you were at the presser yesterday, right?
I was.
What did you take away from it? Because I watched it back on Twitter or X, and there just wasn't much. I mean, Goody said a lot, but he didn't say a lot. He's a very good skill that he's acquired over his time, being around Ted and guys. It's a very good skill. If there was anything, what did you take away from the presser yesterday?
I saw it very much the same way you did, or heard it very much the same way you did. It was a fast 40 minutes. I think Brian's a very good communicator. He gives respect to the questioner, but there's a fair amount of filler in those answers, and that's probably wise in his position. Brian, I had to do 8 reports yesterday. That's the way we do it. 8 different reports. Our 4 o'clock news, 5 o'clock, couple of reports, 6 o'clock, 9 o'clock, 10 o'clock. Okay, 8 of them. I was talking to one of the reporters from one of the other Milwaukee stations. He had to do 2. We both had basically the same challenge because the same thing was kind of said. There were a couple of good sound bites that stood out. The one about I have 1 ring, and that's how hard it is to get there. And that was the year we had the most injuries, when he was asked a good question by Jason Wilde about, whether they were just done in by injuries. And then there were, variations on the same theme of, we're the right guys. We were playing well. We have to finish games. We have to do better. We're confident. We're excited. We're moving forward. And I think you could kind of rip and read and say that was pretty much the takeaway from this type of speech most of the recent years.
Yeah. What did you think about kind of the way he approached the special teams aspect, saying that the special teams has gotten better? How did you look at that, and what was your take on that? Or is he Because, I mean, the stats are stats, right? I mean, they're out there for everyone to see the rankings of the special teams unit. Then you see what happened on the field. I mean, they lose the Dallas game, or they tie the Dallas game because of a blocked field goal and things like that. So how did you kind of look at that?
Rich Bisaccia is, by all accounts, returning as the special teams coordinator. So nobody involved with the organization wants to be on record as saying that this was this isn't the move that should be made there. So obviously there was support of Rich Bisaccia's role in the locker room and with the culture that they believe in. And then you say, we're better as coverage team. I would say that they have improved as a coverage team. The problem with their special teams for me has been, for many years, it's the monster gaff. It's not really the body of work. They don't have a returner. Well, that's not the special team coordinator's fault. They don't prioritize a returner. Yes, they're in the bottom of the punt return average stats, but they don't have somebody who's dedicated to doing that. Romeo Doubs, catch the ball, get 2 yards. It's not his fault either. So to me, I do think they've improved their coverage units. They play Javon Bullard and Xavier McKinney on every kick. I mean, McKinney's one of your highest paid guys. So I think, and they signed Nick Demon, who, if he hadn't gotten hurt, I liked him as a cover guy. I thought he was an impact cover guy. The problem with Green Bay special teams has been, for some years, the big play, the blocked kick. You're right. In Dallas, absolutely swung a game that was going to be over early. A block that gets run back the other way, that wasn't even a game that night if that doesn't happen. Obviously, the Cleveland situation and the fact that those were back-to-back weeks and they couldn't rectify it, that does reflect on the coaching. So to me, it's the big gap that they have to avoid. If a sure-handed guy in Dobbs drops the onside kick, there's not a lot you can do about that. If your kicker who's made 32 in a row misses 3 huge kicks in a game, what are you going to do about that?
Yeah. You know what that music means? That means we're about out of time because the Marquette radio show is next. But TVV and the Doctor of Football, Bryan Bulaga, must make a return appearance. I can count on you both, right?
Sign me up.
All right.
You know where I'm at every Monday and Thursday.
Nicely said. Marquette radio show is next. And, of course, they are honoring Tom Crane at the game Saturday, rightly so. Got to the Final Four, and he brought in Dwayne Wade. I think you could lose 20 games a year, and if you brought in Dwayne Wade, you still get in the Hall of Fame. That's certainly not the case. Marquette basketball radio show next.
We have a crash on westbound 94 right about at Clybourne or 25th Street. The left lane is blocked, so watch